Today, we're going to dive into a pretty amazing link between something super common, that stubborn knot you get in your shoulder, and our brain's incredible power to actually rewire itself. Yeah, it's a journey from muscle to mind that might just blow you away.
So let me just start with this question. What if the key to unlocking your brain's true potential isn't just about reading more books or doing puzzles? What if it's actually hidden in the tension you're carrying around in your shoulders right now? I know, it sounds a little out there, but stick with me because the science on this is genuinely remarkable.
All right, first things first. Let's ground all this in a reality that, let's be honest, a lot of us are living every single day. We're kind of in the middle of a modern pain epidemic, and it's mostly being driven by our own habits.
I mean, think about it. So much of our time is spent right here, hunched over a laptop, staring at a screen. These fixed postures, these repetitive movements, they put this constant low-level strain on our bodies, day after day. And that strain, it doesn't just go anywhere. It targets a very specific spot.
And this is it. Meet the trapezius muscle. It's this big diamond-shaped muscle that covers your upper back and the back of your neck. And it is a major casualty of our desk-bound world. It's the muscle that moves your head and shoulders, and it takes the full brunt of that classic forward hunching posture.
All of that tension leads to a condition called trapezius myalgia. Now, this isn't just a simple sore muscle from a workout. We're talking about a chronic state of pain and tightness. It happens when the tiny little muscle fibers that are supposed to just hold your posture get totally overloaded and basically get stuck in the on position. And what's wild is how this pain organizes itself. It's not just a general ache. It zeroes in on what are called myofascial trigger points. You can think of these as tiny, super irritable knots in the muscle. And they don't just hurt right there. They can actually send pain signals to other places, like your head, causing a tension headache, or even your jaw. It creates this literal map of discomfort.
So, the big question is, how do you fix a muscle that's chronically knotted up and firing all the time? Well, the solution is surprisingly precise, and for a lot of people, it's a little counterintuitive. It all comes down to a very specific, targeted twitch.
The technique is called dry needling. A trained physical therapist uses an incredibly thin needle, it's kind of like an acupuncture needle, to go through the skin and directly stimulate that dysfunctional trigger point. The whole idea is to create a change right at the source of the problem.
But here's the key. The therapist isn't just randomly poking the muscle. They're actually hunting for a very specific, involuntary reaction from your body. The success of the entire treatment really hinges on getting this one response. It's called a local twitch response, or LTR for short. What happens is, when that needle hits the trigger point just right, the muscle fibers in that exact spot will involuntarily contract. They'll twitch. Now, this isn't some random spasm. It's a spinal cord reflex, and it's the objective, physical proof that, boom, you've hit the epicenter of the problem. And check this out. This shows you exactly why that twitch is so important. These are EMG readings which measure electrical activity in muscles. On the right, you've got a normal, healthy muscle at rest. See how it's pretty quiet? But on the left, that's a trigger point. Look at all that electrical noise. It's constantly firing without being told to. That twitch you feel is basically the sound of that faulty circuit getting a hard reset.
And the results? They can be seriously powerful. A randomized clinical trial looked at office workers with chronic neck pain. The group that got deep dry needling, targeting these exact trigger points, saw their average pain score on a 10-point scale drop from nearly a 6, all the way down to 0. That's 0. And that relief stuck around for weeks.
Okay, so we've reset the muscle knot. Mission accomplished, right? Well, that's where the story gets so much bigger. It turns out that little local twitch can kick off a chain reaction that creates a global sense of calm across your entire nervous system.
So here's the quick breakdown of how it works. First, the needle stimulates the trigger point. That triggers the spinal cord reflex, our local twitch response. This forces those tight, dysfunctional muscle fibers to finally let go and relax. And once they relax, the pain signals drop, and blood flow rushes back into the area, flushing out all the bad stuff and bringing in fresh oxygen.
But this isn't just about what's happening in one tiny spot in your shoulder. You have to understand that constant pain signal from the trigger point, it's like a persistent stress alarm blaring at your central nervous system 24/7. By shutting off that alarm at the source, you start to break a system-wide stress loop.
And to really understand how that happens, we need to meet the master controller of our internal state. It's a critical piece of our neurowiring that connects what happens in our shoulders
to our overall sense of calm and well-being.
Everybody, meet the vagus nerve. This thing is the longest cranial nerve in your body. It basically wanders from your brainstem all the way down into your gut. Think of it as the main information superhighway between your brain and your body, regulating everything from your heart rate to digestion. And most importantly, it's the master switch for your stress response.
The state of this nerve is often called vagal tone. Now, when you have low vagal tone, that means your fight or flight system is in the driver's seat. You feel anxious, your muscles are tense, you're basically on high alert. But when you have high vagal tone, your rest and digest system takes over. You feel calm, you're relaxed, and you can regulate your emotions way more effectively.
So what does this have to do with that needle in your shoulder? Well, it turns out that this kind of targeted stimulation can actually increase your vagal tone, and the benefits are huge. Better emotional control, less stress and anxiety, and it can even trigger the release of those feel-good neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine.
Okay, so let's just trace this journey. We've gone from a simple muscle knot to a nerve reset to a change in your brain chemistry. But we can actually take it one step further. This whole process can connect to the physical rewiring of the brain itself.
And I want to be crystal clear, this isn't just a feeling or a chemical state. Research using advanced brain imaging shows that chronic pain causes measurable physical changes to the brain's gray matter. These scans reveal actual microstructural abnormalities, especially in the limbic system. That's the emotional and memory center of your brain. The pain is literally reshaping your brain.
So, if chronic pain can reshape the brain in a negative way, can targeted physical input help reshape it in a positive way? This idea gets really interesting when we think about different neurotypes. Take dyslexia, for example. It's so often reframed not as a deficit, but as a different, powerful way of thinking. Many people with dyslexia are brilliant at visual spatial reasoning, thinking in 3D. It's a true cognitive strength.
So how does all this connect back to our story about muscle pain? Well, a cognitive style that excels at spatial reasoning also thrives on tactile, spatial, and nonverbal input. The idea here is that precise physical stimulation, like what we've been talking about, does more than just kill pain. It feeds structured, nonverbal information directly into the nervous system. And this kind of input could potentially leverage the brain's natural plasticity to support and even enhance those unique neural pathways, turning a physical therapy into a tool for cognitive reinforcement.
It all points to this incredible, larger idea. Our bodies aren't separate from our minds. They are this one intricate system, wired together with all of these switches, from tiny muscle fibers to massive cranial nerves, that can fundamentally alter our physical and mental state. And that just leaves us with a final, fascinating question. Our bodies hold the switches. Which ones will we learn to flip next?